how do two black folks whose parents sent them to school to be engineers end up as trainers and gym owners? Please, for the life of me, I really want to know. Like, because pivoting is a thing, starting over is a thing. How do you go from mechanical, civil, engineering? Yeah, I'm like, all right, cool. These burpees. Talk to me, Tamika and Kelvin, about that.
So, yeah, actually, Ladies first. Yes, I was a former mechanical engineer. But see, I also believe in you can just retell your story and redefine it all the time. So I started as a mechanical engineer and then went to school at night, went into marketing, and then switched to brand management. So I went into marketing. So I had already made switches in life and realized, oh, that's not that bad. Life just started over.
Right.
And then I just discovered that I didn't really love marketing as much. And so I ended up having to go to cycling classes from the stress of marketing, and then just love cycling again. But I mean, I am also from a Caribbean background, so there was only 3 options I had in life.
Right.
It was lawyer, engineer, disappointment. Right? My sister was the lawyer, so I was the engineer.
Raise your hand if to get your business off the ground in terms of a startup. Raise your hand if you bootstrap, you got all the money out the mud yourself. Like no loans, no nothing, like no support, you just all on your own. Real high, come on, raise it. All right, cool. Raise your hand if you took out a loan from a bank. Okay, cool. And now raise your hand if you had support from like investors, folks in the community. Okay, cool.
Can we raise a hand if we couldn't get a loan from the bank?
Raise your hand if you could. I think that's a topic of conversation that often gets overlooked in terms of talking about how black folks are disproportionately impacted by, the experiences of not just us, but our families, our community, et cetera. Because the level of entry and accessibility for you, Joaquin, and for you, Tay, and ALICIA to start a business is different from what it might be for folks who don't look like us, right? Mm-hmm. So Ja, you said that you took out a loan, right? Yeah. How was that process? Was it difficult? Was it challenging?
So my situation was, I took out a loan, but the loan that I was able to get wasn't nearly enough to even open a gym.
Right.
So, me and my partner, we spent a significant amount of money of our own. The loan was just like a little bit of cushion in the event something else happened.
Right.
Open a studio is very expensive, about $100,000 to build out and get equipment and insulate and architects, you name it.
We didn't even talk about like marketing the place, somebody making a profit.
So it's a lot.
You're paying people.
So the loan was helpful. And it was a 0% interest loan, which is hard to come by. So that was amazing, just in that, and it was aggressive payments back, but it was enough that we could afford to get it done. So, but in general, for me, I've been at events and I've been talking to other gym owners and being at these summits, just trying to learn as much as I can. And the one thing I've heard is that people have family members who are just like giving them money, gifting them $10,000, $20,000 that they don't have to pay back ever.
Right.
And like, hey, go try this out. Whereas I'm like, this is my livelihood. As much as I love fitness and I'm all about community, like I'm giving everything I have into this. So if something goes wrong, like I have no money to pay. So it's a very different comfort level.
I think that's a unique point, right? Because literally our industry drastically shifted during COVID. But this young lady and her partner over here legitimately opened up their new facility like in the midst of a global parallelogram or pandemic or whatever. Tay, talk to us a little bit about, because you said like you were able to like actually secure investors and build capital that way. So talk to us a little bit about that process.
So basically, me and Britt, my business partner who's also in the building, gotta shout her out. Basically, we were already doing our independent training thing. We were able to save like a good amount of money doing that. So we just had like one investor who was a part of our community help us out. And it wasn't enough, but it was enough of what we had. Right. It was like just enough, and it ended up being like perfect because we didn't have to get like this big loan or use our credit, which is awesome because we're about to start a new another location, which is still going to be in Best Eye. So we'll be able to have those resources to do that. So it just worked out wonderfully.
Right, but like the courage to do it at a time where every other business around in this industry is either shutting down, pivoting, not working, can't open. I would love to know we talked about fearlessness earlier, or fear rather.
Yeah.
Did that ever trickle in your mind, like, yo, maybe we should wait?
Nah. No. Yo, look. As soon as this happened, the gym that we were training at, shout out to Hype in Manhattan, shout out to them. The gym we were training at shut down, obviously. Me and Britt had just moved, and we started training clients on our rooftop. We bought some equipment. We bought like 1 squat rack, barbell, some adjustable dumbbells, and we had people rent out the space on our rooftop. It's a nice rooftop with a nice view, so we had people coming up there just to use our stuff. Don't tell the landlord. Right? But look, we were determined to use our resources.
I've never heard of someone opening up a gym, and their uniqueness is they are a faith-based, body-positive, Black woman-owned yoga studio, right? I also, if I'm being frank, that sounds super interesting, but I know a number of people, for their own personal reasons, make a conscious decision to not include faith in their practice and in the messaging of their business. So ALICIA, I'd love for you to talk to us about founding BK Yoga Club and, you know, being very transparent about, hey, this is how we do things and what makes us different.
That's one of the founding principles that we came together on, actually. And so in entering into like yoga teacher training, where we actually first met, like I come from a very religious and Christian background. And so it's something that you don't traditionally hear in the yoga space, right? Like there's spirituality, there's universe, and all those paths are open and they're welcome. And it's like people take many different rivers to get to like where, you know, their divine is. But for me, it's God. And so in Paris was kind of like on that same wavelength. In a yoga training, I was like, what? Like, I thought I was about to be the only one in here talking about like, and it gets awkward because you have to have these boundaries, right, to protect your energy. And for me, I'm like, hey, like, you know, like I appreciate this or I appreciate the chanting, but that's just not like my come from. That's not what feels, you know, good for me. And so we were like, yo, there's other people that subscribe to this then, right? And so the space that we wanted to create is open and it's welcoming for everybody. So that's what our background is. That's what we stand for. Like when you were speaking, I was like, yes, purpose, God, like opening the doors. Even when you were just speaking about like resources, I was like, when you're in alignment, God will just like put things, I can't even tell you.
Listen,
I can't even begin to like
it's
talk
like
about
cheating.
things.
It feels like
such
cheating.
a cheat.
Right?
It's such a
wrong.
cheat.
It's like, what the?
I'm gonna go pray about it. He give me yay or nay, and we keep moving. And that's how the business was started.
You just mentioned something that I feel like I'm consistently having to do, where you're like we're for everyone, but this is what, and like as a Black founder, I feel like it's something that I consistently hear us doing, right? So I created Spike for marginalized communities, right? Like every location, I wanted to exist within an area that lacks access and exposure to these types of fitness experiences. And so like that is key. And in that though, it doesn't exclude anyone, right? But you just want to be upfront about like, hey, no one thought of you. I think of you. We think of you. And we just want to say that. But when other it's almost like an apology without us realizing it, right? Because it's our culture of how we want everyone to feel welcome. When they create spaces, they don't apologize for the price point, for the marketing,
for anything,
or the reflection of what is seen. For like, we just have to take from it like, oh, I can go too. Right? But no one ever says, but Black girl, you can come too when you get $35, you know? But like, we always feel the need to like, I just heard it out loud when you did, and I was like, that's exactly what I always do. Like, I speak about what, like, God gave you something, right? Like, that is, everyone else, it should go without saying. Like, no one said this is exclusive, it's not a church.
But getting people to stay there and when they come back is a completely different machine, right? Oftentimes, not something that you can learn in a textbook or any certification. So, what authentic ways do you all practice? I'd love to know, AJ, like, just starting with you, how you go about cultivating a community in BOOMBOX, right? Because y'all be out there fighting with the music and trapping and like, folks out in DC getting in shape, but they're coming back into the space. And I want to know just like, what was your approach to like ensuring that having a culture of community was very much at the forefront and working on?
Yeah, you actually used the word authentic, which is what I was about to say. It's like showing up authentically. Even though we had some of those challenges that you were just talking about, Bree, it's kind of like, you know, are we too Black? Are we too, you know, I'm still this girl from Memphis, and sometimes I just want to, you know, but For me, it was showing up authentically. It was, sometimes I cuss, sometimes I don't. And you may get this, in our space. It was something as simple as learning names. Even when it came to my team, it was, we're a team. This is not a, bureaucracy. This is not a, you can bring suggestions to the table because we all have different strengths, right? I know what I wanted BOOMBOX to be, but everyone brings something to the table, and I want you to know, we're here for you to share those ideas. For our community, we do everything. You just had a baby, you're out sick, you just had surgery. We're sending flowers. When people show up, we say we're all fighting for something. It's something at BOOMBOX we say all the time. It's, we know that we're an outlet for people. We know that, when people have had this rough day or something is going on in their life, people will just message you and say, I'm just ready to get back in there and just hit something and hit something together. And then, we even tell our members, talk to each other because you all can help each other do something. It's just not you all coming here to see the coaches, and we're glad you all want to come here and see us and see the coaches, but, talk to the person to your left and to your right because they can also help you do something. We've actually seen some of our members go into different partnerships together and do things because we're let's just sit out, we will sit around our ring and just have a conversation after class. And so it's getting involved, getting in their business, to the extent that we should be getting in their business, but finding out what's going on with them. And so when people come and say, I had no idea you knew that's what was going on with me. And so when those flowers showed up, or just when you called or sent a text message, that meant so much to me.
Right.
And they turn around and they show up. And so we make it a point to get in their business. We make it a point to let them know that we care and we know what's going on. And the same thing for our studio. And we're also transparent. So when things are not going well, we say that, and when things are going well, we say that as well. And so our community shows up for us just as much as we show up for them. And I think it's all rooted in just being authentic and how we wanted to show up for people.
And I think part of it too is making sure, all of it is being authentically who we are and who I am, and showing that to the world and showing my flaws and my journey with weight loss and everything like that. But part of that has worked for us is making sure that we're authentically in the community. So if there's a program going on, if there's a painting of a mural, if there's planting flowers at the park, if there's a 5K run, then Harlem Cycle is there as, we're bringing the community and showing that we really care about this community.
Right.
We're not just here to make money, but we're here to volunteer our time. We're here to make sure that this community thrives, and that we're making that investment in the community. So I think that also helps us them seeing us that we're just not another business in this neighborhood, but we're part of this neighborhood.
Right.
I love that. Can I just piggyback on what you said? That was awesome because I feel the same way. And a big part of why we have such a great community at Vibes at our gym is for that reason. We created a space that's based on our vibes, really. It's a very black gym, and that's just is what it is.
Right.
And,
If you don't understand that, maybe it's not.
But listen, but we train everybody.
Right.
We have white, Asian, we have all kinds of people coming in.
Right.
And my point is that they really love the space. They love the energy. They show up for it.
Right.
And people really do value our culture and our spaces. So we do need to have more spaces that are authentically
Who we are.
dripped up in our culture because people do love it. Not only us, the audience as well. Just to circle back to that.
If I'm an instructor for anybody's gym and I'm selling out classes and I'm killing it, I want to get paid more. I want a raise. And I'm coming to you frequently about it. And I don't feel like there's really grounds for you to tell me no. Now, that being said, you all know, as the people who see the books and know what the margins are, right? That just because I'm a gym owner don't mean that I'm out here making 8-9 figures, right? So Kelvin, we had a post on Instagram, and one of our members was like, "Ask for that damn raise." Kelvin was in the DM so fast, yo, hold on a minute. Let me holler you real quick. Talk to us about that experience of having a staff, a team of people looking for you for guidance and support and wanting to be paid more, and you want to do the right thing by them, but also recognizing that you got a job to do, and you may not be in a space to do that.
Correct. So, a couple points, right? First, the first one, when I saw that post, I was like, let's take it. But a couple points is for me as a business owner, right? I always look at my first and most important clients to be my employees because it's impossible for me to touch and interact with every single client. So I need to set the expectation of how I expect people to be treated and how I expect the communication to go back and forth, I need to set that with them so that they can go out and set that with the clients. But then the second part is, educating my staff and everyone around me on what business is, creating value, capturing the value in the form of someone paying, and then splitting that value proportionately after expenses, right? Because, I'm a couple times a year, I sit down with my whole staff. We were talking about this earlier. I show them the P&Ls and I show them 60% of my expenses are you guys. Right? I love you. I pay you a lot, right? But understanding that, if say you make $100 and they're like, well, I should be getting at least half of that. And it's like, okay, well, let's back out. Let's back out rent. Let's back out towels. Let's back out. Right. And you keep going. And it's like, okay, so after we back it all out, it's,
Water bottles.
call it $60 left.
Right.
And I'm theoretically giving you 40 of that.
Right.
So you are getting a higher split.
Right.
It's like, oh, well. So when you are willing to sit down and break down to them, what is value creation, how are you capturing it, and what is an appropriate split after the expenses are paid for.
Right.
And hey, what I make is from my creating or taking on the risk to start the business, right? They a lot of times people get that.
Right.
But being transparent about it.
Well, another thing that I feel like we've been able to tap into is understanding that we are very much a startup, and so we want to be able to pay our staff the value, right, that they are, that we see them as, and if they see themselves higher, it's like I would love to be able to do that, and we can map out a plan for that. But we have a lot of resources, and so even when you were speaking about we were talking about finances and capital, I think a lot of times we don't really acknowledge everything that we already have around us. So we're all coming from these professional fields. So mad marketing people that can help you with different plans, or you can do it yourself.
I came from corporate marketing, so no, I don't.
Okay. You have an idea. You have an idea how to run that maybe yourself, right?
Yeah.
Or you probably have friends in PR and things like that. So so for what we decided to do is all right, so we know therapists, we know different counselors, we know different coaches. So how can we provide value in a different way for our staff? Correct. So we provide different trainings, so our staff meetings aren't just dry, this is what we're doing, this is the new changes. It's how can we provide value that you can use here to better the company, but you can also just take that and do that on your own, and you can grow your knowledge in these different industries. And if there's specific things that they want to learn, we use our database of who P, I know this person, and we bring somebody in. And so we've really found that we've gotten a lot of buy-in, so we can't pay them as much as larger gyms, but that's a part about building the community. That's being really resourceful, right? For us, when we built, we didn't have capital, but we had a network of people. Right. So I used our community as capital. I'm who knows an architect? Oh, you got the homie price? Thank you. I'm so serious though. So we didn't have the funds, and if you look at it, it looks like we had the funds. We just had a community, we had a network. And so that's essentially what we do too, to offset maybe us not being able to pay as much as some of the gyms.
For me, part of it too is, we're still the only cycling studio in Harlem, and when we first opened our doors, people were bringing their bikes to the studio and we thought we were a bike shop, because they just was Harlem don't have spin studios. I'm I know we don't. That's why we're here. Right. That was the purpose of Harlem Cycle. Yeah. But for me, it was more about changing that generational path, because we had so many people that was oh, well, everybody in my family has diabetes. It's no big deal. And I'm but you don't have to have it. It's something that we
accept that as culture.
Right. They culturally accepted that was something that was, because it had been passed down from generation to generation.
Yes.
And it's and then you'd hear the saying, well, I don't want to eat white people's food. And I'm well, you don't have to. You don't have to change. You're culturally
not even she go back to the origins. That's
right. That's not a white person food.
But also,
Those are
our
gorgeous.
cultural foods are healthy.
Yeah, those
It's
are
not like
I was gonna say our
Yeah.
cultural
Our
foods
cultural foods are healthy.
very healthy.
Yeah.
And so it was like being able to be a part of that conversation now.
Yeah.
One that, yes, we can do low impact workouts that are cardio based, and we can ride on a bike that doesn't go anywhere and listen to the music that we naturally want to listen
Yeah.
to.
Right.
And we can eat the foods we really want to eat and still be healthy and take away that generational diabetes and hypertension and all those different things that have been plaguing your family for multi-generation. And now we can change that starting with you. By being here. That to me is like one of the bigger things that we can do in this community. It's like that is what we could do to kind of just, I want to take that link out the chain because this chain is broken. Let's take this link out and so we can fix it. And for me, that is the mission of Harlem Cycle, is to like change it generationally.
I think I was reading the other day. I forget who said it, but it was something about. It was a good book. I can't remember the author, but they said that the universe conspires to elevate like dreamers.
Yeah.
And I thought about that, and I was like, that's cute. You know, it really is. But in reality, I think the universe is, in reality, for that matter, is impacted and created by those who own spaces, right? And I think as space owners, as Black gym owners, you are very much responsible for and have a direct impact on the health outcome of Black folks in this country. And Fit for Us was founded to create equitable health and wealth outcomes for Black folks in our community, right? I want to thank you all on this day, BRIANA, Angela, Tay, Ja, ALICIA, Tamika, and Kelvin, because what you're doing is closing the Black health gap in this country. You are simultaneously saving all Black lives, and they will always matter because they always have, and you continue to save them, provide for them, and create spaces where they belong to. And I wanted to give you all your flowers and just clap it up for you.